I will call the Westport Board of Health October 3rd, 2022 meeting to order. First announcement under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F. This meeting is being recorded. And second item is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll move right along into the director's written report. Any questions on that? Nick was not, his report's not available because he was out sick. If not, why don't we go to your verbal report, Matt, updates?
Sure, we'll start with the COVID update. So we ended September with 92 total confirmed cases, 1 hospitalization, no deaths. And October with 3 confirmed cases, no deaths or hospitalizations being reported. We did receive, I believe it's 8,500 new test kits, COVID test kits, the rapid kits. And the expiration date on the box is August 22nd, 2022. But the state has extended that 6 months, so that brings us to the end of February, I believe, before they would expire on those test kits.
Good for the holiday season.
Yeah, so anybody listening or tuning in, please feel free to come to the town nurse or the Board of Health to grab some test kits. So as you know, I talked about it at the meetings. John Schwartz is going through the files, compiling a list of every address, and so we can identify what we have for cesspools, pits, beehives, etc. So as of this afternoon, he's gone through 2,115 files. Out of those files, 303 of them have no plans in them. 175 of them have a leaching pit with some sort of tank that before it, and 35 cesspools. So we're still, he's still plugging away at it, hoping to get, this project completed before the end of December. And, we'll have to figure out a way. We'll have to send letters to those, or do a little more investigation on those addresses with nothing in the file to see what's going on there. And, this will play into the closeout strategy, I think, that we'll be talking about.
At our working meeting on the 20th.
So do you have a file for every address?
There's a file for every address, but that doesn't mean there's something in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Pump reports all look good. Director approved plans. We have a 4-bedroom new construction at 55 Westport Lakes for Joseph Moniz on a 101,435 square foot lot, utilizing a stone bed with an Avantex AX20. We have a 4-bedroom new construction on an 81,920 square foot lot on Sodom Road for J. Rivera and N. Gomes, using a Quick 4 and a Microfast. We have a 2-bedroom repair on 101 Adamsville Road for a Chris Higginson on a 43,211 square foot lot. This will need a deed restriction. We have 4-bedroom repair on a 20,000 square foot lot at 70 Forge Road for Manuel Ferreira, utilizing a Quick 4 and a Singular 960DN. And we have a upgrade, 3 to 4 bedrooms for 99 Cummings Lane on a 60,397 square foot lot for Richard Budelli. We're utilizing a Quick 4 and a Singular 960DN. All of these have been through Concom.
How many of those are the newest septic systems?
I'm sorry, what was that?
How many of those are the newest septic systems that we require? it's just standard,
These are all D-night.
those are all nice.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay, so, any questions from the board? If not, I would take a motion to approve for that we require a deed restriction on 101 Adamsville Road, a two-bedroom deed restriction, and a four-bedroom, deed restriction on 70 Forge Road.
I do have a question.
Sure.
On the Cummings Lane, he's going from 3 to 4 bedrooms. Is that that's an increase in flow? Is that a D-night system?
Yes, it's a 960
Is it
DM.
960? Okay.
Right, and their fourth bedroom, if I remember, I went out there and met with the owners. It's a future building, garage-type bedroom. I don't believe it's existing at the moment. They're planning for it, if I remember correctly.
Oh, good, plan ahead.
Yes, okay, so I move that we accept or approve all the plans, director-approved plans with the conditions for 101 Adamsville Road for a two-bedroom deed restriction and for 70 Forge Road with a four-bedroom deed restriction.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the director plans. With those conditions, these are obviously all D-night, so they are subject to those requirements. I don't think we have to reinforce them. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's unanimous, thank you. Okay, update on animal control.
Sure, so animal control, continues to be busy. We got the ads still out there, on the web pages, I should say. We haven't, figured out how we're gonna get them back up on the job boards yet, because there's a fee for that, so we're working on that. It's more than just a fee, it's kind of like the mechanism of being billed and having a credit card on file. We're still trying to figure all that out. But the jobs are posted on the town webpage. Nick is busy. We seem to be having a lot of dog issues lately. Some of them are now being addressed by the dog hearings officer, which we have a hearing on Wednesday. Or, I'm sorry, not a hearing, an informal meeting on Wednesday with a couple of owners, and another one coming up possibly a week after. So, yeah, there's been a lot of dog issues lately. We continue to enforce, vaccinations, rabies vaccinations, and getting your dogs licensed. Nick is out there every day. It seems like he's dealing with that a lot, but we're making progress.
While you're in animal control, has there been any progress on the two equine permits?
I believe one person came in today.
Uh-huh.
We sent out 2 letters. Joe delivered 2 letters in hand last week, and we sent them also certified mail, basically saying they have 24 hours to respond, or they're going to have to remove the equines from the property, and they have the right to appeal. But I believe one person came in today, and I don't know the status on the other one. I'll find out tomorrow.
Okay, all right, that's good. Good, thanks.
Transfer station, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes, but other than that, operations are running fine. No real issues to talk about. We, as you know, we were cited from Department of Labor Standards about, we had some violations. One was a railing height over the C&D dumpster. Had to be a certain height from the walking surface. Joe basically, we bought the materials, Joe basically fixed that. So it is the proper height now. We had the guys paint it, so it all looks, we've got the safety yellow paint. So it looks pretty good, and the violation is cleared. And we had some gas can issues. We got rid of the gas cans that they didn't like and replaced them with the ones that they did. So now it's just a matter of working on the bathrooms. That's all I have for my report at the moment.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the minutes. We have the September 19th, 2022 minutes. Any concerns? Otherwise, I take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you. Okay. Back to the transfer station. Under other business, we have transfer station bathroom, discuss the options, identify funding source, and vote to make recommendations to the select board. Matt, you've given us a packet with 3 options. Could you walk us through those and then give us your recommendation, please?
Sure. So option 1 is we purchase a 10 by 10 shed similar to what we've purchased that's there now. We'd have to install an accessibility ramp to make it ADA, accessible. Install the electricity, the plumbing, the tight tank, the water tank, the whole 9 yards to get this where it needs to be functional. But I could go through each estimate line by line, but at the end of the day, to make that an operational bathroom using this option, the total cost would be roughly $78,700.16. And these are based on all the estimates that we received from plumbing, electrical, the structure, the installation and engineering of a tight tank, and water storage tank.
So it's water storage versus a well?
Yes.
And then, we would need to pump out. What's your estimate on that?
Right, so I mean, if we were gonna install a 2,000 gallon tight tank over there, there's only 3 people, 5 days a week. I wouldn't imagine we'd have to pump out monthly. We'd probably pump out, I couldn't tell you, maybe every 3 or 4 or 5 months. I don't know how fast it would fill up with get close to filling up.
Okay.
But, I don't think it would be monthly.
Right, so, let's say $500 or $600 a year for pump out?
Well, we'll go a little more conservative and say about 800 or 900, just to be on the safe side. I'd hate to be under.
Okay, I just wanna have the info. Okay, and, any other questions on option 1 from board members? That seems probably out of our price range, but.
All right, option 2 is a trailer. It's a 4-season trailer, what they call it. Everything is insulated and ready to go. It has 2 stalls, a sink, hot water, heat, air conditioning. It's a pretty nice unit. It has onboard storage for the black water or the septic, and has an onboard storage for the fresh water. We would need to pay monthly for, pumping and refill of the fresh water. Because the storage tank, onboard storage tank isn't incredibly big, we'd probably have to have it pumped monthly. So, and the water storage tank isn't very big, so I'm estimating about a $300 cost for those 2 items. But, in itself, the trailer itself, just to have it put in place, delivered, that includes delivery, would be $43,378, and we would purchase that. And we would have to install an accessibility ramp, and that would roughly, this is a rough estimate of $11,250 to have that installed. It's a nice unit, it would be great, but that's that unit.
The only advantage of that one is, should the town decide to close the transfer station for whatever reason, which I know there's been rumors of that, this could be then relocated to another place that needs a bathroom, but, okay. Any other questions?
No, I think just, this, kind of a little bit along the line you were saying, though not necessarily for, associated with just the transfer station. A little bit of a question of whether or not the town would have any other use for this also, just, for other, town gathering purposes, but
Right.
something to think
Like
about.
if
Because
we-
ultimately, this is a select board decision, right? So
Yes, it is.
something to, maybe they'll think about in that regard. But its
the-
mobility is an advantage, I guess is what I'm saying.
Right, the accessibility part, although if you're doing it for temporary events, you just rent an accessible bathroom
Yeah, yeah,
in addition, but.
Yeah. may not be.
You know,
required.
it
Yeah.
becomes an asset of the town that can be redeployed if needed, but obviously would be needed at the transfer station 5 days a week, so as long as it's
Yeah.
open.
And we're looking at, about $3,600 a year to maintain it, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
to pump it and refill with the water, yeah.
Okay.
Moving
A
on.
little cheaper, so going on to
Yeah,
option
well.
3.
Option 3 is a accessible, ADA accessible heated portable toilet and a hot water sink. So this would be rental, this wouldn't be a town purchase, we'd have to, rent this, which would be $456 monthly cost, or $5,472 a year, but that includes the weekly servicing of, what they do to come in and then empty it out and clean it and all of that. The hot water sink is a purchase, that's about $1,460, I believe. And that unit would go inside of the new shed that we have. It plugs in, creates hot water. I think it has if I remember correctly, a 75-gallon stored gray water storage tank. And it has a freshwater reservoir to, with a recirculating pump. So there's that option. To service the hot water sink, empty and refill the fresh water, estimated about $180 a month, and that's about $21.60 a year.
So this would be a one-time purchase of $1,500, and then I think I came up with around $7,600 roughly dollars a year,
Mm-hmm,
per
Right.
year, depending on how long we do this.
Mm-hmm.
mm-hmm.
Okay. Any questions about option 3 or anything else from our?
So we're looking at approximately, oh, wait a minute, no, that would be 9,000 a year because if we purchase the hot water sink. Okay. And it's substantially less, but if you look at a long-term solution, that doesn't seem like a really good one to me.
So, because I think there are other options, and still working on the other options, I don't have pricing for the other option yet, and we're in capital improvement season, if you will. We have to have our requests in before the end of October. I would like to go with the rental with the portage on. It would be my recommendation to the board, just to give me some more time to explore all the options, right? No, there's no saying we have to rent this, for long term. Maybe till the end of the fiscal year, and we come out of the gate July 1st with a plan in place for a long-term option. But this gives us enough time, and it satisfies I guess the violation that's been out there, and we can just kind of get around that. But this is a temporary fix, so that would be my recommendation for right now.
Right, we did have, I think the DLS gave us 30 days, right? And you can ask for an extension of 30 days at a time
Yes.
to come into compliance, so this would certainly be the quickest option. It's really a shame that we didn't get our capital request fully funded last year, because that did include a bathroom. It would have been cheaper in the long run, but penny wise, pound foolish. Not pound foolish, it's just, when you don't have enough money and you're scraping along, it just makes everything ultimately more challenging and more expensive in the long run.
It was short-sighted because, certainly trying to also understanding what the expectations of, what the requirements were. When we went in to do this, that wasn't brought into consideration. What were the requirements, for the appropriate accommodations for the people that work here, so.
So now, the other part of this discussion tonight is to identify a funding source for whatever option the board goes with. and how we're gonna pay for it. And make that ultimate recommendation to the select board, I think, for their next upcoming meeting to take a look at. I think, I don't know, we'll make it to Jim, and where he goes with it, I don't know.
Okay, so for option one, the obvious recommendation is capital purchase. I mean, I'm just going through, so the select board will make a recommendation, they may choose a different option. So we wanna give them what our recommendations are for funding. Option one, I would say capital purchase. Option two, capital purchase. I mean, it's a big chunk of money, there's no place to.
They want us to submit these requests for anything 25,000 or over, so.
Okay, so option one and two, I would suggest we would recommend capital purchase, and we'd have to budget the yearly, maintenance fee out of the transfer station budget. Can we swing that? Well, we can ask.
Well, so if we go with capital improvements, this wouldn't all take effect till next year, right? Because that money doesn't, if they did this and wanted to put it through capital improvements and it was approved, that money doesn't come available to July 1st.
Right,
So we would have to iron out those details, but if we were gonna be responsible for maintaining the pump outs and all of that, we would just have to make sure we include that in our budget request for next fiscal year.
okay. So, either option one or two, given the funding source, this would also require the town to continue to ask for extensions for another, let's say, 18 months. Correct? From the compliance. So, and then option three, funding source. We're talking about $1,500 purchase, that doesn't qualify as a capital item,
No.
and then $7,600 a year, roughly, maintenance.
So the way that I look at it is, we're very early in this fiscal year, right? We have X amount we budgeted for based on what we thought business was gonna look like this year. We'll have excess in the budget, we may fall short. The way, we can certainly just take this on, but there's a real possibility that if we pay for these rental fees and servicing fees out of the transfer station budget, when we get closer to the end of the fiscal year and we're running short, we'll have to go ask for more money.
Right?
I mean, but, it's just the way it is, or we'll be good. I mean, there's no telling until we get closer to the end of the fiscal year where we're gonna end up.
Right, given all the variabilities with the
Yeah.
hauling fees and staffing and so on.
I have
it's
a
been challenge.
question, it just popped into my head, but certainly washing hands is, and that's what the hot water is for, correct?
Yes.
Is something that decreases infectious diseases, is this possible to pay for it through ARPA?
I think so. I don't think the ARPA funds are just for COVID related, I think it was public health in general. But I have to take another look at it.
Well, I mean, that's the reason, it's
We
to prevent
could,
the transfer, the spreading of disease, to wash hands.
so we asked for, what, $105,000
Yes,
in ARPA funds? And they said, okay, you got $105,000. And then as we go to use that $105,000, we have to go before them, and like we have in the past, their committee and then the select board saying, well, we need 10 grand for this or 5 grand for that. They look at the request and approve or deny it. We can certainly go that option with the sink if we wanted to, and see if they would approve it.
I'm just, that's the purpose
Yeah,
of that, it's to stop spreading disease, so it may be able to fall into that if there's a question of where we're gonna get the funding for that.
yeah, we could definitely suggest that in, as one of the funding sources for this sink.
Well,
And
generally, I think that doing the monthly rental now does make the most sense to do. And then, just create the options, through the, normal budgeting process, for the next fiscal year. And, because it really wouldn't be a year, it would be like 9 months,
Right.
you know, and then, and then I think we would just have to be conscious as we got to the, or, you know, just in managing our budget, you know, whatever for, you know, the next 6 months or so, just keep this cost, you know, this is like a cost of doing, this is like a compliance cost of doing business kind of thing, you know, so it really does have a certain priority over other things that optionally we might want to do. I think the ARPA, looking for that is, you know, is a good idea, although it kind of, not that it necessarily commits you to do that. It's kind of like it's the permanent part of the temporary solution,
Right.
you know. So there's a little bit of a contradiction there, but compared to the other costs and where we are in the budget process right now, it seems, you know, like, you know, a solution that if they ask for a recommendation, you know, that would be what we, you know, the select board asked for a recommendation. And I don't know how we write this up, whether it's just pure,
We're gonna take a vote, I think,
Yeah.
and, make a formal recommendation
Okay.
to Board of Selectmen.
yeah,
That's
so
what's been
then,
asked,
so that would,
so,
so that's,
um,
you know, that's how
Uh,
I think about it, because the other ones are just, seem like dead ends at this point for
Right.
where we are.
Yeah, and I see the option 3 as sort of, it's a Band-Aid,
Yeah.
right? It's, we need to take care of this now, right? We've been told we need to take care of this. And it's the quick way to get it done, but it's not the ideal situation. And so I think that doing it as a temporary with the presentation of this is the ideal, this was what we think is the actual best thing to do, but we're doing this temporarily until we get the budget or we get the funding for what is the best solution.
It really buys me some time to get some more, ideas and quotes that we don't have to, you know, rush in with haste and just put something there just because we have to get it done.
Yeah.
This buys us the time we need to continue to research a little bit on some different options.
I just don't want it to be accepted that this is what we're gonna do for the long term. It's a short-term solution until we can have the appropriate long-term solution.
well, you know, in 5 or 6 years, this becomes more expensive than a permanent solution, so
Absolutely.
hopefully the
Yeah.
town will think that far ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thought, in any of these 3 options, whatever we choose, we then no longer have to pay the monthly rental fee for the current porta-john that's there. So we could back that out of the cost calculation.
Which is $150 a month we pay
Yeah.
now.
I mean, it's sort of like servicing the hot
Right.
water sink, it helps.
Yeah.
So, from the conversation, what I've heard is that we essentially will recommend option 3 as the lowest cost, most immediate solution. We recommend it as a temporary this is my take, and people can jump in, as a temporary solution to allow longer-term evaluation of a more permanent, cost-effective strategy. Funding would be, we recommend if the hot water sink purchase coming from ARPA. We will do our best to absorb the monthly rental fee for as long as needed, you know, well, at least through this fiscal year, because none of the other options would happen this year. With the understanding that we may need to go to the finance committee towards the end of the year, should there be a shortage, because this is not something we can just optionally decide, no, you're not gonna have a bathroom. We have to have it, so, it's sort of a mandate. And that should the Board of Selectmen recommend proceeding with a permanent option, what do we think about as the backup, you know, sort of, or do we just wanna?
You mean they
leave that?
reject this recommendation?
Yeah,
I don't see what we can do. Where are we gonna come up with $43,000 or $78,000 to go with any of the other options? That's, you know, unless they're gonna have me bill it off to somewhere else, there's no option for us at the moment.
okay. so we just don't even give them a second option. But I think I would like to suggest that we, in our recommendation memo, that we would continue to look for, more cost-effective long-term options, because the rental will become more expensive than a permanent fix within a few years, and so it seems to make sense to continue to look for a permanent solution.
Right, and I'm continuing to do so. It's very time consuming to do that. You have to, it's a time consuming process, but I'm on it. I'm working on it to get other options.
So, any other thoughts, or how do you want to frame that as a motion? I was just suggesting sort of an outline.
Well, so I would move that, we, prepare an options memo for the select board in which we would recommend, option 3, as kind of described. I mean, we lay out all 3 options and make a recommendation, to, on an interim basis, pursue option 3, the heated portable toilet, and look for ARPA funding for the hot water sink portion of that option.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to recommend option 3 for an accessible heated portable toilet and hot water sink, to have the transfer station come into compliance with the Fair Labor Standards, or whatever it's called, DLS violation order. All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Okay, thank you.
Can I ask you a question, Mr. Board?
Sure.
Is there a limit of time that the landfill is open that they require the bathrooms? For example, if you open 2 hours a day, they require 4 hours a day. Is there any limitation?
Well, they didn't frame it that way, so the way that they framed it was they need to have availability, they need to have a bathroom that's accessible and available. They didn't say
For the employees.
for the employees. They didn't give any parameters to it like you were asking. They just said it had to be there. So the way I took that was, as soon as the gates open, whether it's for 1 hour or 8 hours, there has to be an accessible
I'm
bathroom.
asking that because you're thinking of closing the landfill, so this might be a way of winding down.
Well, just to be clear, we're not thinking closing the
No,
landfill.
I'm not saying it.
Yeah.
You're mentioning it.
Yeah, so.
So talk about it.
So, we'll follow up with the state on that.
I mean, also the cemetery's in the same situation, right?
They are.
Yeah, so, I don't think we necessarily have to coordinate with them, but I think that Jim will if they're doing the same thing that we are, then, town administrator will probably look at this and probably try to have a consistent approach, I would think.
Yeah,
The cemetery's not our
Yeah, right.
bailiwick, so
Yeah.
we can leave that be. Okay, so we covered item number 1. We have our 4:30 appointment, so we'll come back to item number 2 after that. And we will welcome Mr. Potter to the table for a hearing for 264 Old Harbor Road, Kevin St. Martin. This is a 3-bedroom repair with a quick 4 on a lot size of 17,424 square feet.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Potter.
Okay, Len Potter here, Westport Environmental, from Kevin St. Martin. Property at 264 Old Harbor Road. We have an existing home, existing 3-bedroom home, and the intent is to replace the cesspool, which is located on the west side and east side of the house, with a septic tank and leaching field. There are 2 wells. The well furthest to the south is an existing shallow well. It's abandoned. There's no drop pipe into the well. And the well that's of concern is the existing artesian well that was drilled a few years ago. So what we intend to do is to put a septic tank about 30 feet outside of the home to the east, and the reason for that is the contour drops, and everything drops to the east. So there's a perk test taken in that south east corner, and let's come up with a leaching field. stayed 10 feet away from the property line, and I stayed 19 feet from the south property line. There's an existing well on the next property as shown, the radius is shown 100 feet. So I ended up being 96 feet away from the artesian well, and I'm asking for a waiver on that, as a 4051G. The water test came back, and the nitrate level is very low,
Mhm.
extremely low. No ammonia, and 0.006, 0.01 on the nitrate. So anyway, that's where we stand, and that's the request that I'm making on behalf of Mr. St. Martin.
Okay, Matt, I'll turn to you for your recommendation.
I don't have anything to add on this one.
I did have one, minor correction I asked you to make. Note one says the proposed leach area to be a minimum of 100 feet from the existing well, but you're asking for the variance to be 96. So can you just, I think the variance request supersedes note one. Do you agree with that?
Like, number one, to be minimum 100 feet from existing wells. Proposed septic tank must be 50 feet from existing well. Yeah,
Can you just,
well, it's supposed to be a minimum of 100 feet, but I can't get it, so therefore I asked for a waiver.
right, but you know how,
Redundant.
well, that's, I don't know how.
I can change the 100 to 96, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, you've got the variance
It's on-
required
yeah.
piece
The
down
variance is
here.
below, but in the next plan, you don't have that note, you know what I was looking at,
Yeah,
when you have a variance request and you don't say that it's gonna be 100, minimum 100 feet,
Right.
I was just,
You okay with this?
I can change
Yeah.
it.
I just
Oh,
need
yeah,
like a,
I'm fine with this.
Yeah.
signature
Can I-
change,
Yeah. Plus
notation.
up 100, I'll put 96.
I don't, just so we have consistency. Okay, any other questions or concerns?
No?
If not, I will take the motion. This requires a 3-bedroom deed restriction and obviously a local upgrade.
Okay, I'll move to approve the plan for Kevin St. Martin at 264 Old Harbor Road, a 3-bedroom repair on a plan dated 9/12/22, subject to a 3-bedroom deed restriction, an upgrade waiver for the site well setback from 100 feet to 96 feet, 3 years of well testing, and hold harmless agreement.
Okay, I second that.
A motion made and seconded to approve the project at 264 Old Harbor Road. All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, that's about it. 4:40, so I will call that hearing. This is for 81E Sylvia's Lane for Ronald Crosby. It's listed as a 2-bedroom or 1-bedroom repair. I think it's a 2-bedroom.
It's a 2-bedroom.
With a quick bore, the lot size is 10,500 square feet.
The grandfather again was for environmental design for Ron Crosby, 81E, Sylvia's Lane. And we have here, we have a septic tank located partially under a deck, and the river is to the west of us, North Arrow is to my left. So the tank is located in the southwest corner of the house, partially under that deck, and there's a leach pit located in the corner of the property as shown. The thought is to tie into that septic tank and run that black water all the way across to a pump chamber, pumping up to the leaching field as shown. And that'll put us 100 feet from all wells except for the 104 Sylvia's Lane Road, I'm sorry, for the green card. I'll put that, system 64 feet from 104, or 63 feet. The existing pit is 64, and that puts the system 76 feet from the owner's own well. So the waivers are for the owner's well and 104 Sylvia's Lane to be less than 100 feet. That's per shown on the plan, the distances are shown on the plan. And that's pretty much all I can do to make this thing work. So out of the septic tank, over to the pump chamber and up. And those are the waivers.
Okay, and the septic tank is less than 50 feet from the owner's well?
Yes.
I don't know if this is a, just an error in typing, but there's also what the abutter received in terms of the distance from their well is different from what is on the plan. So you say 63 feet
63 feet,
is on the plan, but you told the abutter it was 68 feet from their well.
that's an error.
But the property owner, who I believe has passed away recently.
She's passed away, yes.
Very recently, has been notified it's less than 100 feet, so, okay, so that's one factor we can consider. Let me turn to Matt for your recommendations.
I just wanted to say, I believe, somebody was sick and we weren't able to get into the property. And then we just got busy and haven't had a chance to go follow up on the 1 2-bedroom thing, the field card versus what Lenny's saying is 2 bedrooms. It's an older property, so, I don't doubt that there's 2 bedrooms, but, we'll get in there to check, cause it would make a difference on the, I mean, let's say it wasn't 2 bedrooms and they wanted 2 bedrooms, it would be an increase in flow situation, but, I don't think it's gonna be like that, so, we're trying to get in the check.
Well, Mrs. Crosby came down with COVID when this plan got submitted. So I told her we have to postpone the visit and it's just slipped everybody's mind, including mine. But I know there's 2 bedrooms because her father, Paul Schmidt, lived in that house. She took care of him when he got older and sick. So knowing that, I believe there's 2 bedrooms. And she says so we'll just do the check.
Okay. Any other?
Yeah, so, so this plan re-raises the issue that we have confronted in a number of other cases where the septic tank is less than 50 feet from the well, and the provision of the waiver requirement says that no system can be less than 50 feet. And our position has been consistently that the septic tank is part of the system, because it doesn't say just the SAS can't be 50 feet, and that therefore we've just proceeded procedurally to treat this as a 415 variance, you know, which requires a different procedure. And so that's what we've done in a number of cases. And so I think it's the same case here. That's.
The only thing I say is that we're not asking to put a tank in, the tank already exists. The system, my father put the system in back in the 70s, okay? And at that time, Article 11, you'd be 25 feet away from the tank. So the Board of Health, even so, if it was 50 feet, the Board of Health already granted a variance to allow this system to be repaired back then. This was originally just a cesspool.
Okay.
So I'm not asking to put a tank in, we're asking just to utilize that.
the
tank.
existing tank
Right.
as to where it's
We just
located.
condition the pump, I can't find the permit in files. but
Right,
there was a
okay.
permit done.
Okay,
We did it for Paul Schmidt, their father. That was a young fellow then, I know that.
okay.
So I know procedurally, one of the things is that butters have to be notified, but the affected abutter, well, this is the owner's, affects the owner.
Right,
Um,
right.
The less than 50 feet is not from any other property wells. What would they think the end result is gonna be the same. I believe that we would, well, I'm speaking for myself. It doesn't appear that this appears to be the best option. The one question I would have is and I believe you that it's 2 bedrooms, but,
This is assumed as a two-bedroom,
yeah.
I don't doubt that.
I'm,
The woman's not, she doesn't know anything about flow or
right,
anything, she said there's 2 bedrooms in there, I believe.
yeah.
But- Granted, I'm sorry, Tom.
Right, so that's a that's a different issue. But in terms of the local upgrades you're asking for, the standard is different under a variance request, but I don't know that there would be any different outcome. I don't think there would be any different outcome in terms of the plan. Would you agree with that,
Yes,
Bill?
yeah,
So, procedurally, it's a matter of somewhat, we've noted, you've already
Well,
notified the
yeah,
affected butter.
yeah. I mean, no, but I'm more convinced by the fact that it's an existing tank, and, you know, that, and there,
It was previously permitted.
and that has been previously permitted, and it's not looking to install, a new tank, and it doesn't seem practicable to tear up their deck to excavate this, even if there was room to move it to the south. So I think we should just proceed with the plan as it's proposed, myself,
Okay.
because I think that would,
I would be comfortable with that, moving forward under the local upgrade approval. Is that something you'd be, okay?
Yes.
and so we can essentially just confirm what had previously been approved by granting the waiver.
Right. So, any other questions or comments? Do you have something?
So if Lenny if you could get us in tomorrow, and we'll just make sure, just put our thing on for 2 bedrooms, that we won't be held up. We'll just move forward tomorrow. If you can just get us in there tomorrow, either Joe or John can go in.
I'll call the Crosby's tonight, and I'll see if they're gonna be home tomorrow, I'm sure they will be.
Okay.
I wanna know that you'll be going down to look at it, or Joe or John.
Joe or John will be down there, yeah.
So you were sure it wasn't a 1-bedroom versus a 2-bedroom, or 2 versus a 3?
1 versus 2.
Okay.
Because in the original.
But right, they have to design for a minimum of 2, right?
Anyway,
But they do, you're right. But if it's a situation that ended up being an increase in flow, that would trigger the regulation in the watershed at BD night.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
According
why
to
don't-
us.
I think we can approve, it's assessors records, which we know are not always accurate,
Right.
up to date. I think we could approve this with the requisite, conditions, and also contingent upon confirmation of the bedroom count.
Yep.
And if that turns out to be an issue, we'll come back.
Well, that's really interesting, what you're, just as an aside, because they can't, like, if they propose to come in with a 1-bedroom system, they couldn't do that. It's the regulation that's requiring them to do a 2-bedroom system.
Mhm.
So, it's just an interesting scenario. I mean, they're not requesting an increase in flow, they're required under Title V to have a two-bedroom system. So,
I don't think it's gonna be.
fortunately, I hope we don't have to deal with that.
I don't think it's gonna be a problem
Deal with that
anyways.
question, but,
I
you
don't
know,
think
it's
so.
not,
They're upfront honest, and they don't know what we're doing.
yeah, so, anyway,
They said, show me the way, Mr. Potter.
right, okay, okay.
Okay, so, I think a motion to approve is the sense I'm getting, it would be in order, it would be obviously a deed restriction and various other, that what the well results were also on below 5, I believe they were.
Well, I can just try to do this off the top of my head, unless you have notes on it. Do you have notes on it?
I do. The question I have, though, if they're not, you know, the variance for the septic tank, it's not being changed, so why is there a variance if it's not being changed?
It's to, because it is not in compliance, so you have to
Okay,
approve variance,
Yeah.
even though there's no change in physical infrastructure.
you can do it, so.
Okay, so I move to approve the plan for Ronald Crosby at 81 Sylvia's Lane, a two-bedroom repair on a plan dated 8/10/22, subject to a two-bedroom deed restriction, a variance, an upgrade variance for the site well being less than 100 feet to 76 feet, and the septic tank being from 50 feet to 37 feet. So they did 3 years of well testing and a hold harmless agreement.
And also, include the abutters well is also 63 feet.
Oh, and okay, it's not mentioned here. Okay, and the abutters well being 60 feet from the leach field rather than 100 feet.
Okay, motion made and seconded to
I-
approve.
Well, it
I'm
hasn't been
sorry.
seconded,
Sorry.
because I have,
Jumping the
it's
gun.
81F Sylvia Lane. I don't think Phil said that. And did you say what the date of that plan?
Yes, he did.
Okay. And does that
Eighteen.
require the 3-year?
81E.
Oh, is it E? And then is it gonna require the 3 years of water testing for both
Mhm.
the butters? Okay, all right. All right, so then I second that.
So a motion has been made and seconded to approve the project for 81E Sylvia's Lane, a two-bedroom repair with those enumerated conditions. Also, we didn't say contingent upon the two-bedroom check, but are we comfortable that we don't even have to say that?
I would say it, but I would definitely just say it, just in case it's an issue, even though we don't think there's gonna be.
Yeah. Are you comfortable with that in your motion, Phil?
Yeah, well, I guess it goes, oh, okay, sure,
Pending confirmation of the two-bedroom count.
Yes.
okay, yeah.
Okay? And I second that amendment.
So that's part of the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Potter.
Thank you. Now, if I may, what I'll do is I'll let them know that you can visit tomorrow, and then I'll let you or Joe, I'll give you their number, you can call them what time.
Sure, just call me tonight or text it to me tonight, because tomorrow,
I can do that.
I'll let Joe know, but I won't be, I have,
I'm gonna call them and make sure they're available tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm off at a meeting until about noon time tomorrow,
I'll
so,
call them tonight, yeah.
okay.
Okay? No problem. Thank you much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Okay. We're returning briefly to other business, and that would be board member updates. Anybody have anything they want to?
Well, the Team Cow would like to thank all those that attended and helped clean up Westport. I unfortunately was not one of them because I was sick. But thank you to Deb Weaver at the Watershed Alliance who picked up some of the slack, because not only was I sick, not with COVID, but one of our team members also was out with COVID. So we were down to Team Cow committee members. But we appreciate the collaboration between the Watershed Alliance and Team Cow. And we did, people did a good job, almost completely filling up a very large dumpster. So again, thank you, and we'll do it again in the spring.
Thank you.
No, I don't.
Okay.
I mean, I've been doing some other stuff on the cesspool stuff, but it'll all wait.
Yeah, just a reminder, we have a virtual meeting, Wednesday at 4:30, and we are having our next regular meeting on the 17th, and we push back our planning working meeting to discuss cesspool communication strategy to October 21st at 10 a.m. That's it.
So October 21st, 10 a.m. is the new working meeting time?
Yeah.
Yes. And Matt didn't mention, but he's making progress, pulling all the communities together for the Public Health Excellence Grant, and we're still waiting for the people from the state to move forward on that, but that's coming along. And that's it. I've been out of action, so I don't have anything else to report.
Okay, so if there is nothing else, then I move that we adjourn this meeting at 4:57 p.m.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.